Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7, a week's worth of episodes of Sunday Service with me, your host, Aaron Chandler. Coming again this week. So I listened back to the last 2 episodes, and one of the things I noticed is that I keep moving really far away from the microphone and then moving back to it. So what I'm going to try to do is not do that going forward and actually talk into the microphone so that the sound quality is good, right? That's, I think, what we're going to do. Okay. So there's going to be a bit of a shorter episode this week because I'm recording it on the Sunday, even though I could have recorded it a few days earlier. I had work this morning. I've got a prior social engagement arranged for the evening, and I don't have a lot of time to get everything under control here. So I'm aiming for about a 40-minute episode here. That's what we're aiming for. We're shooting for 40 minutes on the dot, huh? So yeah, let's get into it. How was your week, guys? Mine was good. I had a good week. I've been considering things in my life, I've been reconsidering things, I need to work harder at the comedy. I think that's kind of something I need to focus up on at the moment, is working harder on my set. I know, I've been thinking about my material a lot, right? And, I've been doing this, I've got a couple bits now, I got a couple bits that I do, I think if I put all my material together, I could probably squeeze 30 minutes out of it, you know what I mean? 30 quality minutes, but I've been reassessing some of the bits I've been doing lately. I started doing this bit at the start of the year. It's kind of, I don't want to get into too specifically what it is because, hey, one day you might see it live, huh? But I've been thinking back on it a little bit. I'm going to try to look at the camera this week as well a little bit more. That's kind of a goal of mine. All right. Yeah. Look at me. Yeah, there we go. All right. But I got to keep an eye on the time as well because we only got a certain amount of time. But there's a timer on the camera. Oh, it's fine. Okay. Let's get into it. I've been doing this since January, and it came together quite well at the start, right? I was getting laughs at it. I did a competition at the start of the year. I did that bit in the first round of the competition. It got me through to the final. The heat I was in at this competition was filled with pretty good comedians. So I was feeling confident about the material, right? And last night I did a 2 nights ago, I did a 15-minute set with in one of the comedy clubs here in Cork. And I did that bit, but I did it in conjunction with what is probably my best bit overall, let's say. And I think, one of the mistakes I did was I started on the best bit overall and then I ended on this bit, which, I kind of thought that this bit is really quite good because, it had done me well in the past. But I had also been reconsidering how good it was at the time, because, there was a lot of editing to do. I think it's a bit long-winded, it could be sharper, it could be a bit more, get to the point, a bit more punchy. But I did it in conjunction with this other bit at a gig the other night. And let's say my first bit was about 7 minutes, and let's say this bit was about 8 minutes. The first 7 minutes of the set were it just went, everything went really well. The audience were laughing. They were laughing where I wanted them to. They were laughing quite loudly. They were engaged with the material, right? And then I did this other bit, which it's hard to judge for yourself, because I have gotten good reactions on both of these bits. I definitely know the other one is better definitively, but I didn't think it was, by a huge gap, right? I thought oh yeah, first bit I was doing, that's my really good bit. Open on that, get them on board. And the second bit is really good as well. Carry it over. But the reaction I got on the night, I just really kind of felt to myself, wow, no, this bit isn't as good as that first bit I was doing, at all. So I'm reconsidering that at the moment. And I think one of the things that's going on there is, I'm thinking about it a lot because it's one of these bits that I kind of feel it relies on your audience knowing certain things, it's very Irish focused, I think a lot of the jokes in it are kind of jokes that makes sense if you know a lot about, Ireland and the history of Ireland and you live in Ireland, and obviously, like, putting an onus on the audience for understanding a joke is a stupid thing to do, because, if the joke is funny, the audience are going to laugh at it no matter what. But I think, the burden on me is that it's a bit too culturally specific as a joke, is that I'm kind of making jokes about things that aren't universal. And then what I'm failing to do is paint them in a light that would, make you understand them universally. And I think one of the reasons I say that is because, again, as I said, I did this bit earlier in the year, went really, really well. And it was with a predominantly Irish audience. And I wouldn't say, I would say on both of these nights, the audience were both in a great place. So, it's definitely my fault when it's shit. This new audience, this last audience, they had a lot more cultural diversity. Like, I know there was quite a lot of Americans in the audience. And I didn't think they got some of the and not to say it's their fault, it's my fault. But, like, because, I should have assessed that they were Americans, they might not get the references, and, made adjustments according to that. But what I would prefer with the bit is for it to be applicable to anyone. Like, I want the jokes to be such that I wouldn't have to adjust them for certain audiences. I would want them to just be good no matter what. So it was one of these sets, I was still getting laughs, and I got off stage, I was talking to the guys, and they were like, yeah, it was really good, was you're getting lots and lots of laughs. And then, in the back of my head, I was like, I was getting lots and lots of laughs for the first 7 minutes, and then I was getting about 70% as many laughs for the last 8 minutes. And then for the last minute or so, not that I completely lost them, but I lost them more than what was acceptable. For example, my last joke, the very last thing I left the stage with, didn't land. And that's kind of unacceptable, really. Like, you don't leave them with a bad taste in their mouth, obviously. So I really need to reassess that whole bit, because I do feel like some of the jokes in there are solid, but they need to be more universally applicable. And I think the ending needs to be just stronger independent of that, And I think one of the things that's annoying is, like, this is a bit too specific. It's a bit too specific for comedy talk, but, sometimes when you start doing a bit, the way you have it the first few weeks is really good. And then, like, for some reason you forget how you were doing it the first few weeks, and then you kind of lose the magic of it a bit. Like, there's this one line, maybe it's not a good line. It's also one of these things, maybe this line isn't good, but, like, it's gone well for me enough, with, like, just the momentum of the night, and kind of like the charming way, like I was saying, in a bit of a charming way, kind of like gets it over the line. There's one line I do that I kind of like hasn't been getting those laughs as much lately, and I'm kind of like, am I just not saying it right now, or am I not saying it the right way anymore, or was it just not funny to begin with? So I'm going to take a look at that this week. I think that's something I'm going to need to really kind of lock in on, because I don't know, you get off the stage and the other comedians, they say, that was a good show, that was a great show, you did great there, you did great on stage, but then you'll see someone get up and do shit. You'll see them do the worst set you ever fucking seen in stand-up comedy. You'll see them make a fucking joke of themselves, and not in a funny way. And then they'll get off stage, and the other comedians will be like, oh, great set, man, yeah, good. And you're just like, well, if you're saying that to him, we won't know you're lying to me also, you know what I mean? And look, hey, being nice is good, Sometimes some people can't handle the truth, I get that, You don't know fully how I am as a guy. Maybe I can't handle the truth. That's a fair enough thing to say. But it's one of these things, it's like, all right, look, like, I know it wasn't great. So we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board on it a little bit. And then it's one of those things, it's one of those things where I don't want to, I'm not going to say this. It's like, I could say, like, oh, if it's the right crowd, I could do it. But, like, any crowd should be the right crowd, really, right? That's kind of what we're aiming for with this whole thing. You know what I mean? What I mean by that, what I'm trying to get at there is, like, while I'm reworking it, if it's an audience that I think will get it the way it is, I'll probably do it, is what I'm kind of getting at there. Which isn't great, but it buys us some time to make the improvements necessary, right? So yeah, we're going to take another swing at that whole premise, right? And I don't think it's going to need too much reworking, but I think it's going to need some clever reworking. And I don't know if I'm good enough for that. So yeah, that's we just talked shop there, right? That's something we don't really do on the podcast because we're 7 episodes in, and that's the first time I've even mentioned in a kind of long form way what my gigs have been going like. So that's interesting. I also think I've decided during the recording of this podcast, you know what I might do? I'm gonna go freestyle with the microphone here just for the remainder of this episode, just to kind of see if it makes a notable difference with the audio quality going forward. And then I might have to get like a book or something to put the microphone stand on so it's closer to my face going forward. Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm gonna probably record another episode later this week. I think a bonus episode, if you will, just because this one's going to be a little bit shorter, and I don't think I'm going to get to a lot of the topics I kind of wanted to get at for this episode. And I don't want to have a backlog of topics, and I think it'll just be something fun. It's something I have time to do, no excuse not to do it really, and I think it'll kind of help me develop the podcast habits a little bit more. So stay tuned for a bonus episode later in the week, guys. I don't know, a lot of changes going on in my life lately. A lot of changes in the personal life. I was, I don't know, what's fucked is it's really cold out and the air is really dry in here. And that's kind of like, I can feel like I'm feeling like a coughing kind of thing coming on. And I'm trying to narrowly avoid that, but like it's coming. So, when you see a weird cut later in the episode, that's what that was. And you're like, why isn't it 40 minutes? Why is it 38 minutes instead of 40? It's because I was coughing for 2 minutes off camera. And I only had 40 minutes. So like I was thinking about switching to nights at work. The thing about nights, right? Nights are interesting because the thing about people who work nights is they make a fuck ton of money, like so much money, like an unbelievable amount, but they can never spend it because they're never awake when things are open. So then just have money stacking up. But my idea is like, if I could get it the way I want it to. Now it's all being loosely considered at the moment, and I'm a bit of a social creature, I like talking to people, I like interacting with people. Working alone at night for 12 hours isn't the most appealing thing. But then again, bags of cash in my pocket. So it's one of these things that I'm kind of thinking about. But then the sleep schedule is a factor there. But then again, there's a lot of money to be made. I could catch up on a lot of reading, watch a lot of movies, realistically just scroll TikTok for 10 hours straight. There's a lot to it because night jobs are usually, most night jobs kind of revolve around someone just kind of being present. They don't really revolve around much more than that. Like you just kind of have to be there for the time that the night exists. And then when the night is ended, you can go home. But I know, like my social environment, workplace, I work in hospitality industry, a lot of turnover, you know how it goes, people come, people go, and a lot of the people I've been kind of working with the last few months, they're kind of all stepping out, they're all going like, all right, here's where we're moving on to, we're going to get these things going, we're going to step out of our comfort zone, we're going to move on. And I'm kind of thinking, you know what, maybe it's time for me to do a switch up as well. But we'll see how that goes. I think if I get the time schedule I want, it could be a big benefit in terms of comedy, because I could do the gig, then go to work, and then, maybe have a beer beforehand. I don't know. But we'll see. So yeah, I was, I don't know, you ever you ever go on the internet and you see people and they just don't like their coworkers, and you're just like, what the fuck, man? How do you live every day? You know what I mean? Being friends with your coworkers is the whole point of going to work. Most jobs are if you're playing your cards right, it's just a place where you talk for a while and then do some work on the side. That's what a job should be. It's just banter for 8 hours a day with some work sprinkled in. That's what every job should be. And I see these people, on fucking, Reddit. And they're just bragging about I've been on Reddit a little bit more recently, by the way. This is why I've trying to research podcast topics, but also because I saw some videos of some people dying. Pretty interesting. you see these people and they're just like, I mean, like the whole like don't shit where you eat thing. That's a big one, and I kind of understand that one. Don't have sex with the people you work with. It can lead to trouble, but like, I don't like the way they forbid contact with their coworkers. Like, I mean, I guess again they are Redditors, so like they have no semblance of what the real world is like. They're just like, no, this is where my employment is. If socially interacting here would be against the social contract because this is a place of work. It's like. Have friends. It's like, okay, well, if you're not gonna have friends at work, where are you gonna have friends? Because that's where you are all the time. That's where you are most of the time you're awake. Like, let's see, how many hours are there in a week? 24 times 7 is 140 plus 28. That's 168. Boom. No, 140 plus 24. 140 plus fucking 54. 56, sorry, 140 plus 56, that's 196 hours a week. 40 of them are spent at the workplace, and let's say 9 times, or let's say 8 times 7, that's 56 again. 56 of them are spent sleeping, that's like, that's most of your week. I think the math there was completely wrong, actually. I studied math in never mind. All right, let's look. 140. Hopefully I don't accidentally stop the recording of the podcast now during this, right? But this is just me doing math, not entertaining content. 140 times 7 is... Why is it 140 times 7? No reason for that to be there. 24 times 7. Okay, yeah, no, that's not what I want to do at all. All right, 24... times 7, that's 168. Way off. Fine. 40 of those are spent at work. That's like a quarter of them. And then 8 times 7. Fucking hell. I used to be so much better at math. Wow. By the way, how far off I was, God only knows what kind of math I was doing there earlier. Because I felt like I was quick with it and I wasn't. 56 asleep. So a quarter of your time in a week is spent at work, and then a quarter of it is spent to sleep. Then like another quarter of it, that's just spent doing like errands, like cooking food, hoovering the house, that kind of shit. Like only a quarter of your week is your own free time. So most of your time is dedicated to other shit. So, and a lot of those other shit are very unsociable because you can't sleep with someone else. Well, you can, but you know what I mean. But you can have sex with them, but you can't enter each other's dreamscapes, right? Inception one. I just said Inception there because that's a movie about dreams. There's no correlation there. There's no joke. It's just a statement. It's just word association. And then the other quarter when you're just doing housework and shit, that's a very lonely activity. So like, if you want more than half your week to be social, you kind of have to be friends with your coworkers, right? And look, hey, I get it. They're Redditors. They don't like talking to people, right? Obviously, that's not what they do. They sit at home alone. They play video games all day, But guess what, guys? You're not an introvert. Being an introvert, that's not a thing. It is a thing for some people, for a very rare subset of the population, not for all of you, right? Most of you just aren't likable, all right? And then most of you don't know how to carry a conversation. So then you feel awkward in a conversation because you know deep down that you're doing a shit job at it. But guess what? Conversations feel great. Learning about other people feel great. Other people, as it turns out, have things to offer. They have things of value to say. They're not just husks for you to... I'm looking at the wavy lines again. They're not just husks for you to interact with when you have to, okay? They have life experiences that you can learn from. You can learn from them instead of watching YouTube videos on how to do things. You can learn from them how to have a conversation. They'll teach you if you let them. You know what I mean? What you do is, here's a great thing what you can do. Hey, everyone, I'm ready. Here's a great thing you can do, right? You can start talking to someone, right? And then when you're talking to them, look into their eyes and assess what they're saying, right? Oh my God. A guy I know, not a guy I like, right? But a guy I know. A guy I interact with on a regular basis. Not the best conversationalist. Bit of a Redditor, right? Kind of, not even so much a Redditor, just a bit, I wouldn't say socially awkward because he likes to talk, but just not a very good conversationalist. He's not socially talented, let's say. Me and him were talking the other day. Now, I'll preface this by saying I'm not the best conversationalist in the world. You guys have heard this podcast. There's a lot of just me rambling. That's kind of how I talk to people. I just bulldoze over them. But he comes to me and he asks me, he goes, "Hey, Aaron, how are you so good at talking to people?" Grown man in his mid-20s. I just got a notification on my phone camera and I thought it was a shadow demon behind me. Grown man in his mid-20s asked me how I'm so good at talking to people. Now, there's a certain humility in that I do respect, right? Because, he's going out of his way to make an effort, right? But, okay, so we both know, you and I both know, right, what he meant, and he knew this as well. What he meant was talking to girls, but he said people because he didn't want to seem like a creep. Fair enough, that's what I would have done. Secondly, one of the things I don't do when talking to people is say stuff like that. Because that's not how you do it. Thirdly, you know how to talk to people. You just don't like doing it the proper way because you think you're more interesting than everyone else. So here's how you talk to people, right? What you do is, all you got to do to be a good conversationalist, all you really got to do is focus on listening to what the other person has to say. Because people are very selfish. So if you let them talk, they'll just do that. And then you can chime in every once in a while. You can kind of you can expand on their point for them so they know you're listening. And then maybe, you can give your opinion when the time is right. And then pretty quickly people are just like, hey, I like that guy. He lets me talk about myself. Right? And that's great, This guy, he's the opposite end of the spectrum completely. He just goes into a conversation. He's like, oh, this will be great. I'll talk about myself. Be reciprocal. And, talking about yourself isn't necessarily bad, but it's like, be interesting, Don't talk about how you ride an electric bike to your job and how that makes you a great person because you're saving the environment. Don't talk about that because what you're doing isn't impressive and no one cares, Don't talk about how many bjors you went down the other night by, and how many bjors you had on the leash by, you know what I mean? Don't talk about that because not true, one, first of all. And even if it is true, don't brag, Just be humble, Why are you bringing it up for no reason, Only bring up things that people would actually be interested to hear because no one's interested to hear that. You just want to say that so people think you're interesting, but they don't because you're not. You're just a person who talks about themselves. And since most people aren't interesting, see where I'm going with this? It's not interesting. You know what's very interesting? Me. Ask me about myself. No, but that's what people think, It's like, so if you just ask people about themselves, crack a joke every now and then, give them a little one-liner related to the conversation topic. Eventually, things kind of balance out into a more reciprocal thing. If everyone, because if everyone does what I'm saying, everyone's asking each other about themselves, eventually everyone's just having conversations with each other. They're going back and forth, they're pinging off each other. The dynamics are A1. Now, I can't even talk, so let's not go to why are you even asking me how to have a conversation, you know what I mean, bro? But yeah, that was wild. What was I talking about? Reddit, yeah. So, guys, it turns out, because one of the things you'll notice, this is for Reddit and for this guy, is one of the things you notice when you start talking to people is they're actually interesting. Because being alive is kind of wild. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on and there's a lot of shit happening to people that you're just like, oh, I thought that just happened in movies. But then you find out it happened to a real person in real life. And then you're just like, oh my God, that's more interesting because really happened, right? So yeah, like just listen to people, bro. You know, and that's what Redditors need to do, because they're just sitting there at home playing League of Legends, you know, watching fucking The Sopranos on repeat, you know, watching SpongeBob season 1 to 3, refusing to acknowledge season 4. And, you know, even though those are the best seasons, they're refusing to expand their mind, learn something new about the world. They're just telling themselves they're content with who they are. But at the end of the day, if you're not growing, you're shrinking. You know, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward, you know, because the world is moving forward. So if you're not moving forward with the world, guess what? World's going past you. You're falling back. So while you think that you're an introvert and you just don't like talking to people, and, you know, like, hey, I like being alone, you know? I love being alone. Guess what I also love? Talking to people. You can love both. You can like both. Both are good. Both have value. You know, sometimes you need to be alone. Sometimes you need the solidarity. Not your entire week. Not every moment of your life. Interact with people. And you're like, well, the people at work are mean to me. Hey, guess what? If they're mean to you, it's because you're fucking weird. People aren't mean to people for no reason. Bullies don't like... You know, bullies have never targeted the cool kid. You know what I mean? Like, they target people who are just, like, not conforming to the social norms. And sometimes you need to conform to the social norms a little bit. Because the social norms make you better at being a person. You know? I sit at the corner desk with my laptop smelling of Doritos all day. And, you know, scrolling through TikToks on my phone while I should be working. And, you know, secretly watching porn in the corner window of my laptop. How come no one at work likes talking to me? Why would anyone like talking to you? This isn't where I thought this episode would go. We're nearly 30 minutes in, and it's supposed to only be a freaking 40-minute episode, and we're getting there. Ah, shit, I fucked this up, guys. But you guys know what I mean, right? Like, obviously, no, look, I mean, when people are younger, bullying is kind of atrocious, you know, the people become things for anything. And even in the adult workplace, it can be very bad. But sometimes, and what I mean by this is like 60% of the time, sometimes bullying is actually just correcting. Sometimes bullying is like, hey, don't wear that hat, because people don't wear hats like that. You know, you should know that because you need to be a person. You know, it's like, hey, don't smell like Doritos every day. Hey, have a shower. Have a shower and make small talk by the water cooler. Because that's what people do. And we're all in this together. And we need each other to survive, you know? Like, you know, because a lot of these, like, these guys are, right, they're introverts, right? You know, they don't need anybody else, right? Guess what? Who makes your food? A person. Who makes your clothes? A person. Probably a robot now. A kid in China is making your clothes, right? At least, at the bare minimum, a kid in China is making your clothes. Who is providing your electricity? A person. Who is... Guess what? Guess what's not going to be there when society collapses? Reddit. All right? You're not going to be able to go on Reddit, askreddit.com, and be like, fucking, how come the electricity doesn't work anymore? Anyone else experiencing this problem? That's not going to be able to happen when society collapses. You know what is going to be able to happen? You're going to be able to go down to your friend who you've known for many years, who you've developed a relationship with, and you're going to go, how are we going to get food? And he's going to be like, guess what, bro? I've been a farmer this whole time. I'll give you some of my food, and now the society collapses because you're my buddy. And then you're like, but I have nothing to offer you in return. And he'd be like, bro, you've given me so much over the many years we've known each other, just in conversation and levity. You know, I'll do that for you, you know? Because people are all we have in the end, you know? And that apocalypse thing obviously isn't going to happen. But that kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's like, at the end of the day, your human connections, they're all you got, you know? You know, like, we're in this shit together. You know what I mean? And we're all going to die. Soon. Not soon, but soon on a cosmic scale, almost immediately, right? So, you gotta lock in on the people around you, man. Like, because they're all you got. Because, like, in a million years, like, no one's going to give a fuck about the memes. And they're not going to give a fuck about you or all the people you're alive with. That's a bad example. Like, anyone can look at a fucking Reddit meme for 4 hours. Anyone can play League of Legends, you know? You can't. The people in your community, not everyone can know them. You know? Only you can know them. Only people who live in that community can know them. And guess what? They're interesting. Because life is complicated and it's interesting, right? So go talk to them, you know? Because one day they'll be gone. And one day you'll be gone. And they're the only ones who are going to remember you. Not fucking you slash that guy's mom 417. You know? He's not going to remember you. You know? You think he will, but he won't. He might remember your funny comment. And let's face it, none of the comments on Reddit are funny. They're all just the same comment over and over again. I really don't like Reddit, but lately I've been kind of looking at it a lot, and this is kind of the culmination of all of that. Like, take it easy, bro. You know what I mean? I had a point there that I was going for. I was going for a point about like the value of interacting with people socially. What I'm trying to say is, like, you know, I used to be quite a shy guy. I used to not like talking to people, but like, if you really give it an honest chance, and I know, look, guys, bros, Reddit bros, I know it can be very uncomfortable, you know, especially at first, because, like, you know, I'm not really what we'd call a regular person. Like, I'm a bit, like, you know, possibly on the spectrum, you know, definitely surrounding its gravitational orbit, let's say, you know, and I haven't always found it easy to talk to people, but you learn that it's actually the most valuable thing you can do, because other people can enhance your life so much, you know, like, you live among men at the end. Like, what's that thing? Who says that? John Marston, we die alone, but we live among men. We live among men, live among them. You know, they have something to offer you. They can enhance your life. You're a social creature. It's built into your biology. There's no, like, you're not an introvert. Guess who are introverts? Guess who are introverts? Tigers. Tigers are introverts because they don't have communities. Okay? Guess who aren't introverts? People, because we have societies. That's what we're made for. You know? We're not, we're not. What's a lonely animal besides tiger? That's kind of funny. I'm only thinking of social animals right now, like elephants, dolphins. Wow, a lot of animals are really social, actually. Wow, that's crazy. I literally can't think. We're not woodpeckers. Got it. We're not woodpeckers, you know. We're not there sitting there every day hitting our head against the computer or the tree. Metaphor, simile, whatever. Whichever one it is. This is brilliant. This is basically unreal content. You know, we're ant colonies, we're bee colonies. We got to be talking to them and them, you know? And if they bully you, that's because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're not living up to the social expectations you should be. And that's your fault. It's your fault. And if instead of going, fuck them, they don't understand that I smell like Doritos as a choice. If you instead go, I'll stop eating Doritos and buy a bar of soap, then eventually they'll kind of go, oh, wow, you know, remember that loser we were bullying all the time? He's really made an effort, you know, he's really come around. And they'll go, we'll like him now. And then you'll be like, oh, well, they only like me because I changed. And it's like, yeah, but you changed for the better. For the better for you and for all of them. That's why they like you, because they saw you improve. You know, they saw the human spirit conquer degeneracy and laziness. You know, they saw something valuable. And you did that. And you made their lives better and your own life better. And is there anything better than that? Sex. But then you'll have it because you weren't having it before, were you? Because you didn't need people, you know, you'd like to be alone, except when you're wanking to pictures of anime girls on pillows or whatever it is you guys do. That's kind of one of the metaphors, right? Not a metaphor, that's one of the references in the Reddit community, you know? It's like, you're almost there, boys. You're almost there. You can do it. You know, just have a shower, you know, go to the coffee machine and, you know, like, you know, don't do that thing where, and you're not like, yo, I know, it's like, oh, like, what do I say for the first time? Just go, like, you know, show up, get your hair cut, shave your weird incel beard, you know, smell nice, put a bit of aftershave on. You're just like, no, aftershave, that's just the drug companies making people spend money on superficial bullshit. Who cares? It's what people do. Do what people do. Guess what? Do what people do. People will like you then. And you want people to like you because even though a lot of people are very stupid, they're still valuable because you spend all your time around them. And if you're ever in a jam, they'll help you out. You know, it's my reasoning for being a good guy is it's largely selfish. But guess what? If you're selfish, right? Here's the thing that most selfish people don't get is if you're selfish the right way, it's actually selfish. Because a lot of people are selfish in the short term. They're just like, I want that now, actually, so fuck everyone else. But if you think about the ultra long term kind of dynamics of it, it's like a lot of things, you can do selfish things. If you do selfish things long term, it's actually kind of like everyone will like you because being selfish in the long term is the same as being selfless. Because you can go like, oh, I should be friends with that person because then one day I might need something from them. And then guess what? Now you're their friend and they value your experience. And now, like, you know, maybe you'll need something from them someday, maybe you won't, but now you have a friend. You've just given yourself a selfish benefit. You've sacrificed something in return for it, but that's the nature of reality, you know? When you're selfish in the short term, you sacrifice, you know, people liking you in the future, which will bite you in the ass. So either way, you're sacrificing something. You may as well play the long-term strategy be as selfish as possible. And by doing that, making everyone actually love you, because selfishness and selflessness are actually the same thing on that grand time scale. Don't know if that made sense, but it works. I promise you that, right? What's a good example of that, right? I can't think of one, right? Shit, you know? I think I explained it kind of well. No, I didn't. No, it was a disaster. It was a fucking disaster. Oh, no. Oh, no, I can't talk to people. Oh, no. But yeah, like, look, you're like, all right, you're thinking right now, like, no, I just want to stay home and play video games all day, you know? What if someone in the office happens to be a computer expert, you know? You become friends with him. One day down the line, your computer breaks. He goes, hey, man, I like you. I'll fix it for free. You know? You've just made a selfish long-term play that's benefited both of you. Because then you're like, hey, man, thanks. Want to grab a beer? You buy him a beer. You guys have a great conversation. You enjoy yourself. Now you've gained on two fronts. You've gained a beer buddy and you've gotten your computer fixed for free. You're like, this is Heisenberg level stuff. Like, you know when Huel sits in the pile of money? This is what you're doing. You're amounting all these things. You're amounting friends. You're amounting family. They don't know that it's all just for you. You know, they think, oh, this guy's actually a good guy. And you are, because being a guy, being selfish can just be the same thing, you know? Like, you know, you go to your like, your niece's football game, you know, you support her there. One day, you're old and dying. She's just like, remember when my uncle used to support me all the time? I'm going to take care of him now. You know, little does that dumb bitch know, you were just doing that so you could get this now. But guess what? Also, because you spend time around her, you actually love her, and you're actually grateful for her company, and she's grateful for yours because you have wisdom to pass on to her. And now it's like, boom, boom, boom. I'm amounting benefits to my own life across the largest possible scale of time. I'm being a narcissist in the most professional possible way. And that's what you can all do. That's what you can all do, you disgusting Dorito-ridden... I said incels too many times. And I said Doritos too many times too, but that's kind of like, you know, Doritos are the incel national food, I guess, right? But yeah, that's just what you gotta do with people, you know? You gotta be like, I'll be your friend, so that one day you can do something for me, but also I'm doing stuff for you. And actually, we're both benefiting from this. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. It's infinite corporate growth. We're going to conquer the world. Guess what? If you have 1 billion friends, guess what? Now you're a president. Boom. Yeah. I think that was kind of quite a devastating insight into my psychological thing. But how do you make friends? Let's say you're there and you don't know how to make friends yet. You know what I mean? Okay, so first thing you got to do, shave, clean shaven, you know, haircut. I mean, look, obviously I'm going a bit wild and unkempt with it, but that's because I'm clean enough that going wild is seen as a choice rather than just poor hygiene, right? You're going to have to build to that. And then you're like, what do I say to them? You know, you just start slowly, you know, because already people are uncomfortable to be around you, you know. You walk into the kitchen to get a coffee on your break, people are just like, you know, they kind of go down and start like silently murmuring to each other because they were just talking about you before you came in and how weird and gross you are. And then you walk in, you're a little bit more clean, you're a little bit more well put together. They kind of look up there kind of like, okay. What's he done? You know? And maybe they'll even make fun of you for that. Now, those people are bad people. If they make fun of you for improving yourself, they're bad people. But if they do it in just a japey, jokey kind of way, then what they're kind of getting at there is kind of like, hey, you know, we knew you were bad before, but kind of well done, you know? Keep it up, you know? Whereas you might kind of take offense and be like, fucking, they noticed. I shouldn't have done it for them, you know? But you walk in and it's like, all right, where do I start? And just say, hey, man, hey, guys, how's your day going? You know? Don't just walk in and be silent, you know? Don't wait for... Here's what a lot of people do who are trying to get into talking for the first time do wrong. I know this because, well, I've seen it and I've done it, you know? I wasn't always good, you know? I was actually really, really bad. But then I realized how beneficial it would be for me to have relationships with people. I need to end this episode really soon. So I didn't even talk about any of the topics I want to talk about, so you're definitely getting that bonus episode. Okay, I think I've got like 2 more minutes, right? Don't just listen to a conversation that you're not involved in, and then when you see an opportunity to say something, you know, don't just chime in then. The second you get in there, you just gotta ask a question. You just gotta be like, hey guys, how are you? And now you're in the conversation. So now if you interject with something, it's not weird, you know? And then whatever they say, ask a follow-up question. You know, if you know something about them, nothing too specific to the point where it looks like you're a stalker and a creep, but something kind of general, like, hey, they've got a report you at the end of the day. You go like, hey, how's that report going, And then, like, maybe they go, oh, it's fine. And then you go, oh, like, because, you're so good at the reports, like, and like, but like, what's your approach? Just keep asking questions, and they'll start talking, yeah. And like, they might be a bit hesitant at first because you were disgusting and gross before, but eventually they'll kind of they'll break down and they go, what, he's actually all right now, They'll start to trust you, maybe they'll invite you for beers after work. Maybe you realize, hey, the beers after work are actually nice and they don't just all make fun of me, and that's just because you're there now. But you're there now because they don't want to make fun of you anymore. You know what I mean? And so, like, it's. I don't know how to land this plane at the end of the podcast. I didn't think this would be the topic we talk about, but yeah, talking to people is great. And basically, long term, guys, you're going to be clapping cheeks. Like a year of this, and you'll be clapping cheeks. Shower, shave, ask questions. Within a year, like, a woman's going to be like, "Well, he asks a lot of questions. He really cares about me. I'm going to suck his willy." No better ending. Can't have a happier ending than that. She gets gonorrhea of the throat, because you're unhygienic, in your core, you can't change that. You can't change being unhygienic at heart, So, yeah, talk to people, clap cheeks, give a girl gonorrhea in her throat. Happy Sunday.